So in this video, we're going to take a look at knee axial rotations in a seated position on the floor. Now the floor isn't vital for this setup. The idea here is you could do this off a chair, off a bench or something like that. So if you're feeling like this level of deep hip flexion is quite uncomfortable, feel free to change it to some degree. Now the reason why we might look at knee axial rotations is you might be someone who has difficulty actually isolating your knee joint and rotating it. For a lot of people, we just think of the knee joint as a joint that either flexes or extends, this kind of up-down motion with the knee. We think of it as just a basic hinge, but there is the capacity to both internally and externally rotate the knee, kind of where that tibia meets the head of the femur. There's a degree of rotation, and it shows up in different movements like squats, lunges, those sort of things, where if we lack that range of motion in the knee, we might find discomfort when we perform those movements and sort of pain or lack of movement around the knee capsule. So when we look at the knee capsule specifically, that is the area in which the two bones meet. That's sort of like deepest layer that we sort of look at when we think of a joint. If we find that the knee capsule is very restricted, how we assess the knee capsule is by doing these sort of axial rotations, these internal and external rotations. If we find that the joint capsule is very limited, then we're gonna find that range of motion on that knee joint is going to be compromised regardless of what we do on all of the kind of overlying musculature of the knee. So we might find that the knee joint, when we assess it, you don't possess a degree of internal and external rotation. So that's why we're gonna isolate and use this movement here to sort of first learn sort of where we need to contract from and what's actually working when we try to axially rotate or internally and externally rotate the knee, okay? So we take this seated position, as I said, chair, bench, yoga box, whatever it might be if you need it. All we want to do is just make sure that we keep ourselves to sort of a 90-degree angle at the knee here, okay? And we drive the heel into the ground. By driving the heel into the ground, we're just going to get a little bit of tension into the hamstring and into the leg so that we're active to some degree with it. And what I'm going to bring your attention to here is this little bony prominence at the front of the shin called your tibial tuberosity. And what is going to happen here is the idea is the tibia is what's rotating. And if we follow this tibial tuberosity, we sort of place our two fingers on either side of it. When we move through this rotation, we want to physically actually feel that movement from the tibial tuberosity. By its orientation changing, we know that we're actually moving the tibia and we're not just focusing on moving the ankle. So the ankle will subsequently move. You'll see here my foot sort of moves from side to side here, but the movement has to originate from the tibia. It can come along for the ride, but it's not like you're focusing on the actual ankle itself moving. I want you to put your conscious awareness into this actual knee joint, into your tibia, rotating between the two, okay? Now, if you've driven your heel into the ground and you've found that tibial tuberosity and you've tried to move through that range of motion, you may have got some semblance of movement, but you're likely finding it difficult to some degree if I've prescribed this movement for you. So what I want you to do is actually physically grab the tibia. Now apply a moderate to low amount of tension first, where you actually physically assist your tibia between those two movements. And you should be able to see, even if you maybe grab close to the tibial tuberosity, you should be able to feel a little bit of rotation, but you're not trying to force it too excessively. You've got to imagine that you're maybe very low in terms of your conscious awareness of contracting all of the musculature involved in internal and external rotation, and you're using this as a way of just assisting the motion so that you can eventually progress to the point where you don't need to assist with the hands and you can actually both internally rotate and then externally rotate at the knee. So go through those few sort of things. As I said, you need a little bit of tension, sort of driving the heel into the ground. You can even sort of flex the toes towards the knee to get a little bit of tension on that shin, but really focus as much as possible on getting to your end range. This would be external rotation here. Squeeze, fight for more range, provided you feel comfortable. Work up to an intensity that feels good for you today, and then transition slowly into internal rotation. Squeeze, fight for more range, and you're definitely going to find by performing these multiple times, either in your daily cars, I've maybe prescribed it as something to do in your daily routine, or as a subsequent exercise, an accessory exercise in one of your training sessions. And it just means that we're building more conscious awareness of the knee moving between this range of motion so that we can progress and advance our training into the future and hopefully work on getting the knee more mobile in the future. Okay, so there could be plenty of questions based on everything that I just went through there, so be sure to leave it in the comment section below. If you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this on a regular basis, be sure to subscribe to the page. But thanks for the moment, and I'll see you soon.